Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Gig. I'm your host, Mike Redman. It's crucial today that every musician understands AI. We're continuing with part 2 of AI and music, and my guest is David Ronan, founder of RoEx. He has a deep understanding of AI, and his product, RoEx, is an AI-driven audio mix system. It's absolutely fascinating. We talk about AI as a tool and something that helps talented musicians and composers go fast. So as always, let's jump right in. First, I wanted to thank you for joining us today.
No problem, my
This is
pleasure.
going to, I've got some wonderful people in this series the goal of this series is to help musicians understand what the heck AI is.
Yeah,
Maybe, help them see it as a tool as opposed to something that's just going to take their job.
yeah,
But I want to start with you because you're actually somebody that's in the business of making tools and things like that. But could you go back and just start off and tell us a little bit about your education at the University of Limerick? What a cool sounding place.
yeah, sure. Yeah, so that's where I'm from originally. I'm from Limerick, Limerick City, and I did my undergraduate and masters at University of Limerick. I did mathematics and computer science to begin with, which kind of gave foundation for what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
But then I just obviously got really into making music and music production. And I ended up doing a master's in music technology
Mm,
there for a year. So that's essentially where I kind of learned how to mix and master. And it's about this time as well where it kind of got me thinking, like, mixing and mastering. There's the creative side to it, but there's also a lot of legwork stuff that could
sure.
potentially be automated. And I guess
Hmm.
that's where the seed was for when I went on to do my PhD, because I moved to London soon afterwards for broader opportunities, and I
Mm,
ended up working for a few years as an engineer. But then I went to found out about a PhD program at Queen Mary University of London in the Centre for Digital Music. And
wow.
yeah, so my PhD supervisor was actually a guy called Professor Josh Rice, who was one of the original founders of Lander. So obviously that's kind of where the kind of intelligent
Gotcha.
audio tools came from. So
How would you explain AI to a musician what it is? I mean, well, more than just a thing that's going to take their job. What is it?
yeah, I mean, I guess it's like the next advance in kind of computer science and technology, where a system can be trained essentially to replicate mundane and boring tasks, when that's not
Hmm.
always the case. But typically, that's kind of the main use case, where it's like, okay, you need to analyze a load of data very quickly. It could take you hours. This could well, it would normally take a human maybe like days. It could take
Hmm.
this AI thing to do it in hours, because it can computationally crunch something very quickly.
Hmm.
What's happened more recently is generative AI, which is obviously the what everyone is kind of up in arms about at the moment, and rightly so. That's where AI has been trained on potentially on copyright material,
Hmm.
whether it be art or music, and it's generating derivative works.
Ah,
Um, so that's not really that's not it being AI being assistive. That's kind of being an AI being a replacement, which is
a
not
predator. Yeah.
indeed.
So actually, that brings up another question. Why didn't you go down the path because you are a musician? Why didn't you find yourself going down the path of working in the ability to create music?
I guess we did. I mean, I did at AI Music. We were doing it, but not in the way that, say, Suno and Udio were doing it.
Yeah.
Basically, what we were doing is we had a team of music producers who were creating music for us.
Gotcha.
The idea is that we were able to take the music, the loops and the phrase they generate, and be
Hmm.
able to kind of combine them with other pieces of or other phrases and loops and create new music out of it. So
Hmm.
essentially, the it retained the human element and the human spirit and
Yeah.
the authenticity essentially. But you were able to create kind of derivative work. So it wasn't, and they were obviously paid for it as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it was fine. It was an ethical approach. So I have worked in it, but not in the way that basically is being done now. I guess that technology that like sooner or later that's only kind of come out in the last few years. So when I was
Hmm.
doing it, it was a bit before all that.
What do you think the one of the biggest challenges is for musicians and composers in a world of AI?
I think, I mean, the challenges, I would say, I mean, the thing is about like AI, it's obviously it's quite scary, and you see Suno
Hmm.
and Udio coming along, and everyone's like, oh, they are, they're training on copyright data, which is effectively stealing from artists, and that's not
Yeah.
good. But I would say that music doesn't have authenticity. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's essentially it's very much throwaway music. You're not going to
Yeah.
go see your favorite AI artist play in the Fillmore. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's like I don't think it's there's that much need to be scared. I mean, right? I don't know where the
Hmm.
technology is going to be in 10 years. It's hard to predict,
Yeah.
obviously. But like I think there is still, I think the composers are like being able to like talk to the director of a movie and understand what's going
Hmm.
on in the scene with the composer. And I think that's, that's still very important.
Yeah.
I mean, even as a mixer, like, I mean, like we do mixing, but like, imagine you're a musician and you're talking to a, professional mix engineer. You're going to convey the emotion in your song to the mixer, and they were like, "Oh, I see what you mean. That chorus needs to be a bit more, because that's about
Hmm.
your
Hmm.
girlfriend." Or, and I think until machines really understand emotion, which I don't know how far they are, I don't think it's
Hmm.
too much of a cause for concern. I think tools like AI tools are there to help you go faster, should be embraced, or else you obviously get left behind. I mean, I use ChatGPT day to day for stuff like
Yes.
just
Yeah.
stuff like for writing stuff, for looking at contracts and
Hmm.
stuff like that. Because it makes me run faster. You know what I mean? And
I
it
like
gets me,
that. Yeah.
and I can run faster. I can focus on stuff that matters as opposed to like stressing out about a bloody LinkedIn post. I'm not sure about how
Sure.
it
Yeah. Yeah.
sounds.
Yeah. Right. David, I mean, as a former composer and engineer myself,
Yep.
I was thinking about your system, um, and I couldn't really understand how an AI could mix my music. So, could you
Yep.
kind of like start there and tell us about what RoEx does?
Yeah, sure. So the main product we have, which is our multi-track mixing system, is called AutoMix. And the idea is that you come along, you upload your recording, stems, whatever. You provide some very basic mix settings. You tell us like which is the most important track, so like the lead
Ah,
vocal,
gotcha.
essentially. The instrument type, if you have a panning preference, if you have a reverb preference, otherwise we figure it out. And then it gives you back a preview mix in
Hmm.
less than a few minutes, depending on how many tracks you want to mix. And at that point, then you can tweak it. So if you want to like maybe change the vocal, the volume, or whatever, you can. And then otherwise, you just finalize it. And at that point, you can download it as WAV. You can maybe you want to download the process stems,
Hmm.
or you can download as an Ableton Live project file where we'll have loaded the project file with your unprocessed audio. But we'll have
Hmm.
configured Ableton with stock plugins so that we'll have set
Gotcha.
up the EQs, the compressors, the gains, and the panning. Um, which is great, and it gets you at that point where you have a good foundational mix, and that kind of leaves you do the creative stuff in the DAW, and you're back at the point of creation, and you're back
Yeah.
in your workflow. We do that as well for Bitwig and Presonus Studio One, and soon to be Cubase, and hopefully Reaper and Pro Tools at some point. But anyway, the
Mm.
point is, to go back to your question, that process itself isn't doing anything creative. That's the corrective side of mixing.
Hmm.
So it's getting you to the point where everything is clean and balanced and nice
Yeah.
sounding. So the idea is that you can then do your creative stuff. So
Hey, does I'm gonna jump around. What the heck?
no, that's fine.
RoEx, do I have the ability, once you've given me that the first mix or the first, run through, to describe in text what I would like changed?
No, not yet.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I mean that would be one of
Something
those.
where
You
we're
actually you mentioned something a second ago about, so I'd say I'd like this mix, but I'd like the bass to be a little punchier, maybe add some low into the, what I mean? Be able to explain those things, because I think for the average musician that doesn't really live in the mix world,
yeah,
it's an incredibly powerful tool.
yeah,
Myself on the pro side, which I'm not really doing anymore, but I'm going to be requiring more. And there was, I won't mention her name. There's a lady that's a head of music for Tom Hanks' production company, and we
oh
were
cool.
talking not too long ago and about AI and stuff. And she goes, "Well, we don't really. Where we use it is in the mix room. You know, We have
Yep.
lots of tools that
Yep.
allow us, like you said, to move fast, to go
Yep.
fast. And so I was just kind of curious. So, with that said, kind of where do you see RoEx in 3 years from now?
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of give you an insight to like what we're doing from an R&D perspective
Hmm.
on the music side, and then all the kind of other kind of things we're working on. So where we got we won a grant from the UK government from Innovate UK for £250,000 to
Wow, nice.
form R&D into what's called professional style transfer, I think is the term we put on it. And the idea is that like we would train a machine learning system to learn the creative mixing style of someone. Because as I said, the system we have is very corrective. And the idea is that like we'd work with a famous mix engineer or anyone really, doesn't
Hmm.
have to be famous.
Hmm.
But the idea is that they would have their, this is my signal chain for my vocals, or this is my signal chain for my drums. It's kind of like my secret sauce,
Hmm.
effectively.
Hmm.
And we would learn that signal chain and be able to apply it in our software.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But the idea being is that like if you're famous and you provide the training data, we would give you a revenue share then on any kind of music that gets produced by it, which is only fair. That way that like that music that sorry that engineer then is able to basically make money while they sleep, or even upsell their their
Hmm.
normal services. Really
Interesting.
excited about. And the thing is as well, the way we've come at it as well is like it needs to be easy to train. So like we
Hmm.
don't want to make it super complex. So the idea then is we want anyone to be able to kind of
Right.
duplicate themselves essentially. So if you've got a stack of mixes to get through during the week, and you can just basically make yourself go faster because it can duplicate your chain or whatever, and it can apply all these things to your vocals or
So
drums.
you're left as a mixer, you're left tweaking as opposed to starting from zero every time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The concept of what you're talking about is really cool. That's awesome. So that's kind of uh, now for people that are familiar with you or are going to be familiar with you. What you were talking about this, where you're going with mixing, kind of style wise.
Mhm.
Is there a timeline for that work?
Good question. Yeah, we're kind of we're hoping to try and commercialize it in the next few months, so put it into one of our
Oh,
products.
wow.
I will say one thing, it's been a real challenge to get this right and try and to get it to a point where we're happy with it. So, I mean,
Yeah.
we'll hope to have a good prototype in the next few months. I won't say we might be
Okay.
not actually ready. But I would say in the next year, we're hoping to have it out.
I understand that you, now you just tell me about the grant that you got, but did you also raise some venture money? Some,
Yeah, we did. In December 2022. Yeah, that's when we
hmm.
did.
Hmm.
We launched the beta of AutoMix, and I just gotten the first paying customer. And they just a UK-based VC called Hatch. They reached out to us. Great, really great team. And yeah, they said they wanted to invest, so they put in money as well as the university. So we're spin out. I think I mentioned already we're spin out from Queen Mary University, so they put in money as well. And
Nice.
yeah, we've had cash from them. Obviously, we're revenue as well. We're generating revenue, and we've been good with grants as well for the last
Oh,
for the
that's
last one.
awesome. That's what I was going to ask you. Are you generating, are you profitable at this point?
We're not profitable yet, but I keep hiring people, so
Yeah, well,
we're growing.
it's the good and the bad part of growth, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I knew a fellow once. He said, "If you're not growing, you're dying." So, so I totally get it. Can you talk to me? Is there competition in the space that you were in?
Yeah, I mean it's a weird one. Like there's no one else doing full multi-track mixing like us. The
Hmm.
only other company that's kind of close to it is a company called Cryomix, but they only do two-track mixing. They're very focused on
Mm.
hip hop and rap, and they do a really good job of it.
Hmm.
But like we do up to 16 channels, and we're going to expand that to more channels soon as well. Obviously, then we have kind of indirect competition from I suppose Isotope or Native Instruments now
Hmm.
with like plugins and whatnot, but like
Hmm.
it's a very different way of going about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're a fully kind of autonomous system essentially. So there's no one else really like specifically what we do. And obviously we do mastering as well, and
Hmm.
obviously
Oh,
there's loads of mastering companies out there. Like Lander obviously being the first to
yeah. I
market,
was
but
going to say that. That's and then
they're like
of
a
course, huh?
was gonna say they're like our older big brother because they actually Lander actually spun out from Queen Mary University London as well.
No kidding. No kidding.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah. So
yeah. And then you got to watch out. You do this long enough, and Apple will have it on their desktop. Put a
yeah,
little mastering piece. Can this if you want to get a little technical, that's fine. But how do you go about training your system?
yeah, sure. So for the corrective part that we have currently, we trained it by ourselves. So what we have we're like our team is like a team of engineers, PhDs, music
Hmm.
industry. So we trained it ourselves. A lot of it is based on kind of traditional knowledge engineering rules for mixing and mastering.
Hmm.
But the one we're working on at the moment, the kind of the creative style, that's basically, learning the signal chains, and that's kind of very much more data hungry
Hmm.
type of process to it. Without going into too much detail, obviously, don't want to bore you.
No, no, I think it's fascinating. I think that most musicians, myself included, was like, I mean, when you say you train it, it's like, okay, sit, talk, give me a
Ah, right.
call.
Which, yeah, I think
It's
it's
like,
like,
how do you actually do that? Do you just sit there with, and type in text, or when you say the signal
yeah,
chain, do you say, you know, add compress? Is it kind of like using, just regular languages, regular coding to train?
yeah. So a lot of it is computer programming.
Hmm.
We have like ways to like numerically optimize for the best solutions for like EQ and compression. And a lot of it just comes from the R&D well, parts of it come from the R&D during my
Hmm.
PhD. And then we've built on that massively since we started RoEx,
Yeah.
to like using engineering best practices.
Hmm.
And then we have different parts. We have like machine learning components that do certain parts of like. I mean, what's really important for us is like understanding what's obviously in the signal in each kind of
Right.
track, and then making
Right.
decisions based on that. So like
Hmm.
understanding, being able to take a snapshot of the audio and seeing what is going on there, what instrument is it, where are the
Mm.
peaks, all that kind of good stuff makes then that informs a bigger system on like what EQ, how much EQ to use or how much compression to apply.
Hmm. Now, do you do something like, say, if I identified a stereo track that I uploaded as strings,
Mhm.
does your system analyze my strings based on what accepted sounds and practices are for mixing strings?
Yep, absolutely. That's how it works.
That's
Pretty much.
that's really cool. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
so we have
So
like
you did,
profiles for different instruments.
uh-huh.
And then we have like, and then essentially, we will know, okay, so these are strings. This is what we need to do for strings effectively. And then we'll adapt it based on not just general strings, but your type of strings. I mean, how
Wow.
they're played, that kind
Wow.
of things.
So it took more than a couple weeks to build this, huh?
Yeah.
I was gonna, when we got off, I thought I might know enough, and I'll just build one myself. Wow, that's quite amazing when you really start breaking it down. Who's your perfect user, David, for your system?
Yeah, good question. I think for us, I mean, look, John, I'll tell you kind of the story of like how I think I might have touched it already, but like basically, I remember like the first time I opened the door, and
Hmm.
I probably like I obviously make music, but like I'm not, I wouldn't call myself very musically talented, we'll say.
Hmm.
I'm more of a technical person.
Sure.
And I remember the first time I opened the door, and I was like, what is MIDI? What the hell is a
Yeah.
compressor? I think it was Fruity Loops. It was the first one. And I remember how overwhelming it was. But like as I said, I'm a technical person, so I learned it and I got into it.
Hmm.
But I had friends who are wildly talented on various instruments, but like when it comes to the technical stuff, that's where they struggled. You know what I mean? They were
Mm.
like, oh, you know,
Yeah.
some of them
Yeah.
even struggle. Some of them even struggle with WhatsApp. So
Yeah. Right.
so like it's for basically people who are super creative, and they spent maybe 10 years learning violin or whatever it is.
Hmm.
They're not prepared to spend 10 years learning how to mix and master,
Yes.
or they don't have, or they can't
Gotcha.
afford to spend $150 per song to get mixed and mastered.
Hmm.
Really kind of democratizing, mixing and mastering for people who don't necessarily have those skills or the money to do so.
I would say that then that you have a lot of growth opportunity, because I would say that that's probably the largest segment of the music industry, really. Run me through as a user, how this works. I mean, I think you touched on some of it already, but
Yep.
I take my mix and I upload tracks.
Yeah, you upload the stems. So you'd
Hmm.
bounce them out of your DAW,
Hmm.
you'd upload them to our platform, you tell us the instrument type
Yeah,
for each
you
track.
talked to, yep. Hmm.
Yeah, if there's a you have a and if you have like a lead or if there's a background instrument, if you have a panning preference,
Right.
otherwise
Yeah, you
we figure
mentioned,
it out.
okay. Yeah.
If you want to add some reverb, otherwise we don't or we figure it out. And that's it. It's very
Okay.
simple. Yeah.
I mean, you described it in the beginning. I just want to make sure that I was really
Yeah, yeah, no worries.
clear. It
I mean,
sounds very, very simple.
it's worth probably telling you, but we have another product as well called Mix Check Studio, which is a tool, a free tool, well, mostly free. You upload a mixed and master track to a platform like StereoWav. We'll
Hmm.
analyze it, we'll tell you what's wrong with it, and then we'll tell you how to
Ooh.
fix the DAW. So if
Oh,
there's
I
issues
think
like
that's
yeah,
wonderful.
if there's issues with the stereo field, the tonal profile, dynamic range, and then it'll tell you, okay, this is how you need to go back and fix it in your DAW. But we've actually just for Christmas we launched a newer version of it where we'll actually take your track, we'll source separate it into the individual components, and
Hmm.
then remix it and remaster it if you want, basically. So if you had a
Wow.
track from 20 years ago that needed some love and you don't have the multi tracks, we can
Yeah.
basically get it back
Oh,
to.
I'm going to have to try that because I have a
Please
lot
do,
of,
yeah. I'd love to
yeah, I
hear
have
your
a lot
thoughts.
of music like that. And that's, whew, the mixing is easy to wrap your, head around. Doing what you're talking about, it's, yeah, I don't really understand that, but I don't really have to, right? That's, I guess, that's the beauty of it. So many of us, we mix tracks and then we play them for 20 people, to get their opinions, right?
Yeah.
Because either you're not sure that you mixed it the way it needed to be mixed, or you just
Mm.
simply want somebody's opinion.
Hmm.
So this actually,
Second pair of
like you
ears.
said, it's a go fast,
Yep.
system. That's really, really cool. David, this is fascinating. I just wanted to ask you this one last question. Do you have any advice for the musicians out there? Well, two things actually. We'll start with this one. I try your system for free to see if it works. Not
Yeah,
me
yeah, yes.
personally, but I mean,
Yeah,
can somebody that
anyone.
visits your site?
Yeah, so if you sign up now, you can mix and master as much as you want. You can upload whatever you want. You can create as many mixes you want, masters, you
Hmm.
name it. You only pay for what you download normally. But we
Mm.
also give you one free download credit anyway if you sign up. So you can download it, listen to it on your car speakers, wherever you want. And then if you want to then pay for it, we have like a subscription model that has like all the DAW integration stuff.
Mhm.
We do like vocal cleanup, a report on how we actually created the mix for you so you can learn. So it's kind of an education
Oh,
aspect to it.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think everybody should try this. It's like a lot of systems that I've used that I didn't know if I wanted it, needed it, especially. And then,
Yeah.
like you were talking about Chat GPT, I tried it and I did this and this, and now I use it every single day.
Yeah. Same here.
For me, it's the fastest research tool for and stuff.
Yeah.
Last question: is there any advice that you could share with musicians that are still, on the fence about AI and just worried about it? You sort of touched on it earlier that, they shouldn't, but maybe elaborate on it a little bit or.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like we all have our strengths. Like you
Hmm.
might be a very good singer, you might be a
Yeah.
very good bass guitarist, you might be a very good mixer. And you should lean into your strengths. And that's where your authenticity and who you are, and that's where you will shine and where you will come out as a human.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't think there's any shame in like using AI to kind of help you in all the other aspects where you suck. I can't program drums, right?
Yeah. 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 Uh-huh.
I just can't. I'm very bad at it. I like using AI tools to help me do that. You know what I mean? There's
Mm.
nothing wrong with it. At the end of the day, I'm enjoying creating music, and that's what it's all
Yeah.
about. You know what I mean? So
I guess in one way, you just made me think of something I never really thought of before. We've been using what we could have called AI for a long, long time. Every time we open our DAW and pull up an instrument from Native Instruments, right?
there you
I
go.
mean,
Yeah,
the instruments that we use every day. We don't these software instruments. We don't think about them as being,
yeah.
predatory. So,
Yeah, exactly. A sampler
yeah,
is, you know what I mean? It's a
yeah,
cello
yeah,
player in your room.
yeah. That's really wild. Well, David, thank you so much. I wish you all the luck in the world, and we'll be
Oh,
in
thanks
touch.
very
And I'm
much.
gonna when we get off here, I'm gonna find a few mixes, and I'm gonna sign up, so you'll see me on your
Awesome.
system. Yeah.
All right, pleasure.
All right, man. You take care of yourself.
All right, bye-bye.
I'll be watching. Not that you
Great.
care, but I'll be watching. All right. I'll see you later.
See you, man. Bye-bye.